There it is, yes. Very good. Has a good mic, too.
Yes, I'll just keep it a little bit up. Just closer.
Yeah, well, this is fine. Yeah. So, I offer you all a good morning. Thank you for coming. It's my pleasure and privilege always to share with you the glorious teachings of Srila Prabhupada, which are the teachings of our Lord Sri Krishna. And how many were here last night? Were any of you here for the class last night? So I spoke on Damodar. I will not be speaking about it this morning, except to say it is a very wonderful holy month in which you can make much progress, because the Lord gives a special gift that no matter how much sadhana or discipline you perform, it should have a certain amount of benefit, so He increases that benefit. It's kind of like if somebody on your birthday gives you a gift, normally you're expecting, for example, $100 gift. So the Lord, instead of giving you 100, He gives you a 500. He gives you very special. But we should not be very fruitive in thinking always in terms of what I'm getting, what Krishna is giving me, and how much money our only concern was, if Krishna is giving me more of this, then let me use all of that in service to Him, in love for Him, and in devotion to Him to increase His pleasure. Our only concern should be His pleasure. The more we think Krishna and less I, the faster and the more Krishna will drown us in His merciful blessings. This is the whole goal, and it is a big challenge to overcome the false ego, which always is demanding, give me, give me, give me, which keeps us rolling around in this material world to fulfill more and more material desires. So without any further ado, we can begin the Jaya Radha Madhava prayers, and then I will proceed with today's talk, which will be on how to make our household life truly sublime in spite of the obstacles and difficulties which are there. You may be wondering, what do I know about household life? Here I am dressed in brahmachari clothes. So I did have a mother and a father, and I lived in their home. And I saw the problems of household life and how they never got resolved because there was no spiritual principle behind them, nothing of which was holding them to a principle that can enable them to grow and develop and ultimately become truly peaceful and truly joyful. There was nothing. The only peace and joy came from pills, and the joy came from sitcoms. So that was there. It's not very much of a future to look forward to, but that's all they know. And even though they had some religion, it was what I call external religion, nothing internal, nothing connecting with the Supreme Lord. So now we can begin, but I wanted to know that I saw problems, and I also have many friends who are householders who have these problems, and Srila Prabhupada mentions many times since he was householder how he resolved so many problems in his family life and what has to be done. And then there were so many grahastas I knew in Los Angeles community who were advised by Srila Prabhupada. So I'm basically essentially giving the same teachings so that all of us can lead more peaceful and happier lives. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasoda Nandana Vajjana Ranjana Nandana Vajjana Yasoda Nandana Vajjana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasoda Nandana Vajjana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Vajjana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasoda Nandana Vajjana Ranjana Nanda Yasoda Nandana Vajjana Ranjana Nanda Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramu 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramu 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Hari Ramo, Hari Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hari Hari. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Upada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajakacharya Astutora Sata Shri Srimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sukho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasari Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamkund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, Harinama Sankirtana Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, what do we generally do? Do we have a board or? You don't have to do that; it's necessary. But I know in Los Angeles usually we have a blackboard and it's written on. But since, oh, you have the screen. Okay, the verse. Does he have the verse already? Wonderful. So, what? How will they? Will everyone have to turn around to read the screen? Okay, that's not a problem. I won't feel offended if you look in the other way. So. Yes, so the verse will be on it'll be 242 actually. If we can go to the next verse, Prabhuji, that would be appreciated. Okay, can he hear me? Yeah, he's 242. Yeah, there you are. Very good. So first we'd usually chant the Sanskrit word. Shri Narada Uvacha Greshu Avastitha Rajan Kriya Kurvan. Yes, you have some problem? Yeah. Okay. Yatochita Vasudeva Arpanam Sakshat Upasita Mahamunin. Now I will chant the whole verse, and we can do it responsively. Shri Narada Uvacha Graheshvavastito Rajan Graheshvavastita Rajan Kriya Kurvan Yatochita Vasudeva Panam Sakshan Upasita Mahamunin. Shri Narada Uvacha Graheshvavastito Rajan Kriya Kurvan Yatochita Vasudeva Panam Sakshat Upasita Mahamunin. Shri Narada Uvacha Graheshvavastito Rajan Kriya Kurvan Yatochitam Vasudeva Panam Sakshan Upasita Mahamunin. Yes, who would like to chant? Vasudevam Panam Sakshan Upasita Mahamunin. Next. Nobody has to feel bashful. We don't throw you out if you don't pronounce it correctly. Shri Narada Uvacha Vasudeva Panam Saksham Upasita Mahamunin. Graheshvastito Rajan Kriya Kurvan Yatochitam Vasudevam Panam Sakshan Upasita Mahamuni. Thank you. Mahamuni. Anyone else would like to try? Okay. Srinaram Umacha Okay, we can now do the word by word synonyms. Shri Narada Uvacha. Shri Narada Muni replied, Graheshu, at home, Avastitaha, staying. A householder generally stays home with his wife and children. Repeat, a householder generally stays home. Rajan, O king, Kriya, activities, kurvan, performing, yatocita, suitable, as instructed by the Guru and Shastras. Vasudeva, unto Lord Vasudeva. Arpanam, dedicating. Sakshat, directly. Upasita, should worship. Mahamunin, the great devotee. So we will do the translation now. Before I read the translation, let me just read the previous translation, because Narada Muni is replying to King Yudhishthira's question. So the question that he asks is, Maharaj Yudhishthira inquired from Narada Muni, O my Lord, O great sage, kindly explain how we who are staying at home without knowledge of the goal of life may also easily attain liberation according to the instructions of the Vedas. So now I will read the translation. Narada Muni replied, My dear king, those who stay at home as householders must act to earn their livelihood. And instead of trying to enjoy the results of their work themselves, they should offer these results to Krishna Vasudeva. Excuse me. How to satisfy Vasudeva in this life can be perfectly understood through the association of great devotees of the Lord. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. The format for Grahastha life should be dedication to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita 6.1, it is said, Anashvita karma palam karyam karma karoti ya sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriya. And this is translated as, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no work. Whether one acts as a brahmachari, grahastha, vanaprastha, or sannyasi, he must act only for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. This should be the principle for everyone's life. Narada Muni has already described the principles of life for a brahmachari, vanaprastha, and sannyasi. And now he is describing how a grahastha, a householder, should live. The basic principle, again, is to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that, of course, means performing or doing those things which give pleasure to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The science of satisfying the Supreme Lord can be learned as described here. Sakshat upasita mahamunin. The word Mahamunin refers to great saintly persons or devotees. Saintly persons are generally known as munis, or thoughtful philosophers concerned with transcendental subject matter. And Mahamunin refers to those who have not only thoroughly studied the goal of life, but who are actually engaged in satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. These persons are known as devotees. Unless one associates with devotees, one cannot learn the science of Vasudeva Parna, or dedicating one's life to Vasudeva Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In India, the principles of this science were followed strictly. Even 50 years ago, I saw that in the villages of Bengal and the suburbs of Calcutta, people engaged in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam daily when all their activities ended, or at least in the evening before going to bed. Everyone would hear the Bhagavatam. Bhagavat classes were held in every village, and thus people had the advantage of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, which describes everything about the aim of life, liberation or salvation. This will be clearly explained in the next verses. So we can all turn from the board now. And I will try to make a few comments on these points that Srila Prabhupada has so graciously given us. So to begin with, there are difficulties when a person is a householder in achieving God realization. And why is that? Because in householder life, it is only natural that many attachments develop. One becomes married, and then husband becomes attached to his wife, and wife becomes attached to her husband. That's natural. And then after that, some children may come, and then the husband and wife become attached to the children. That's natural too. And then there are always the relatives. The relative is the father, mother, or mother-in-law, father-in-law, and we form attachments to them as well. And then there are, the uncles and the aunts, and then there are the neighbors who become very important to us because we borrow things from them and they borrow things from us, and we feel obliged to reciprocate. So attachments form because we begin to feel that they are very important in our life and that we need them. This is the basis of all attachment. It is an indispensable feeling that someone or something is indispensable, absolutely necessary for our happiness. This is what attachment is all about. Detachment is the very opposite. It's understanding that no one and nothing is indispensable for happiness except the Supreme Lord Krishna, who is the basis and the means by which happiness can be and should be attained. So when we developed attachments to not only our family, but it all starts from the attachment to our body. In other words, you have a body, and the body has the basis or has the ability to enable you to enjoy some pleasure. You can enjoy pleasure through the tongue, through the ears, through the nose, through the skin, through the eyes. And these pleasures that we get through the five senses become the basis of gradual attachment. For example, a person may become attached to his TV set because every day or every evening he watches the news at 6:30. So therefore, 6:30 the TV set is on, and he feels, I have to know this. If I don't know this, then first of all, I'm assuming that he's not a senator and he's not a congressman. If that is your job, then you may have to know some of that in order for your job to be done properly. You have to know what is happening, what is the news, what is the breaking news, what is the breaking news. And if you don't know all of these things, then it's like you're not doing your job. But I'm talking about general public who is not senator, who may not be congressman, may not be even involved in politics. So what happens is that we become attached, for example, to the evening news or the nightly news or on a particular program too, and you get attached to a particular newscaster. Like you watch Channel 7 and you get Diane Sawyer, or you get Channel 4, you get Brian whatever. So you get attached to these people, and when one night they're not on, you wonder, well, where are they? What's happening? All they said is that they're not here, or they've taken off. But why have they taken off? I like the way he delivers the news. I like his face. I like his nose. I like his eyes. Or I like the way he smiles. I like the way the way he delivers it with a sincerity and with a depth and an understanding that I don't find in anybody else. So these attachments, they develop. Or it may be just the TV set. The TV set doesn't play, you see, and you don't have an extra one. You only have that one big giant one with a 50-inch screen, which we've gotten used to watching it on. You don't want to watch it on that little computer screen. After all, that's like going downhill. So the point is that it's not working. And now you have to call in a professional to get it working, and those big screens to get them fixed, to get them working. If they're under warranty, well, then you're in good shape. But if they're not under warranty, you might as well just buy another TV set, because the cost of fixing it can be even more so than buying a new set. It's true, because the wages have gone up, but the cost of making these is less because they're made in China and they're made in Taiwan and they're made in India, different countries where the labor is not very costly. So we get into this principle of attachment. So when things, we have our attachments to our children, we have attachments to our father and mother. If somebody dies or somebody leaves the world, we feel that some part of us is wrenched away from us. Or if we have a car and the automobile gets damaged. You come out in the morning and there you see a big fender bender, and it's a big crack in it, and this was done overnight. And you felt so much pride in that car, because when you drove in that Mercedes or Lamborghinis or Porsche, whenever you walk, especially it was beautifully yellow painted, and you drove down the street, everybody's turned their head and looked at it and gave you a feeling of prestige, a feeling of honor, a feeling of glory, that you were the important person on that street. So now what is going to happen? There's a big bender. When people they'll see that fender, which is all bent now. It's just another car ready for the junk heap, practically. And so you don't feel very good, because nobody's going to praise you or honor you or glorify you or say, oh, what a great car. Wow, it's wonderful. So when you identify yourself with the car, first comes the body. The body earns money. The money is earned, and then you buy the car, and now the car has become an extension of your body. Okay? So car and you are one. Somebody dents the body, it's like dents the car's body, it's like having your own body dented. Or the car is not working well, or it's like almost like your own body is not working well. You immediately have to take it to the mechanic to get it fixed so that it will work well. And until it's working well, you're in anxiety, you have some uncertainty. Will he be able to find it? Is he going to find things that are not even bad with the car? Like sometimes they cheat the customers. They say this is bad and this is bad and this is bad, when actually they work quite well. There's only one thing wrong, but you get charged for 5 things sometimes. They did this. This type of expose on some of the magazine shows. I saw it, but there were at least out of 10 dealers, 6 or 7 of them charged for things that didn't need it, because they already had given it to a mechanic to check out everything. And there was only one thing wrong with it. This was deliberate. But these different mechanics, they would find different things wrong with it. And the result of that was that people, instead of being charged maybe $30, $40, $50, they were being charged $500, $600, and $700. Because the cheating propensity is there in living entities. There are four tendencies. One, of course, is is a cheating propensity, and then there is one makes mistakes, and one is in illusion, and one sees things imperfectly, has imperfect senses. So that's the nature of the living entity that has no interest in God realization, has no interest in serving God, loving God, concerning himself with God. He doesn't care. Main thing is, I'm the Lord, and I'm the one who has to improve my material life. So if I can cheat him and get more money, then I've made a better. I have more money, then I can do more things. I can expand my business. He doesn't realize that when you cheat somebody, eventually he will get cheated. You see, he doesn't understand this very basic principle. You cheat, you get cheated, and then when you're cheated, you're upset and you're disturbed. What a world we live in! Everybody's just a cheater, but he forgets that he's the worst of cheaters. He's the worst of cheaters. And so, excuse me, am I saying something incorrect here that needs... Okay, if I thought maybe something I said wrong, I would be glad to correct it. So, he is the worst of cheaters, and he is the worst fault finder. He finds the fault, he's upset, he's disturbed, he's shaken, because he was cheated. He doesn't think back to the time all the other people that he cheated in his service station. He made thousands of dollars. Now suddenly he's being taken for that. So therefore, the best policy is honesty, and do it for Krishna. So when we identify ourselves with our body as ourself, when we feel this is me, you see, anything which is connected with this false me, this is not us. We are the soul within. We are the soul which is existing within the heart. For the soul there is neither birth nor death at any time. It has not come into being, it does not come into being, and it will not come into being. It is unborn, eternal, ever-existing, and primeval. It is not slain when the body is slain. These are Krishna's words. So it is not slain when the body is slain, which means it's eternal. That which pervades the entire body you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to slay the imperishable soul. As the sun alone illuminates the entire universe, so does the soul, one within the body, illuminate the entire body by consciousness. So that's who we really are, the soul. When the body disappears, then the soul takes on another body. As one gives up an old suit of clothes, the soul similarly, when the body is too old and no longer can function, the soul leaves that body and takes another body. In the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, the living entity in this material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to the next, as the air carries aromas. Thus he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another body. This is what we've been doing. So therefore, although we get many bodies, we get many miseries. Each body carries with it different degree, different amounts of misery. Krishna says, from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who achieves my eternal abode never takes birth again. Which means no miseries. What kind of miseries am I talking about? Miseries that we all get. There are miseries of the body and mind. You get ill, you get headache, you get a toothache, you get a nose run, This is the fall. Everybody is now sniffing and blowing their noses now because the change of weather causes a change in the body. And so all persons may be getting earaches, or they get infections, different kinds of infections, or they have problems with the liver, problems with the bladder, problems with the gallbladder, problems with the respiratory system or the circulatory systems, hardening of the arteries. So many different problems come in the body. Okay? So problems of our own body, and then there are problems of our own mind. Sometimes we can't control the mind. You lie down to go to sleep, and it don't shut off because you had some problem and you're trying to work it out before you go to sleep so that you don't have nightmares. And it keeps going over and over, and then you get up and you walk back and forth, or you sit down, try to read a book, but the mind is not acting like your friend. Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, the mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. For one who conquers the mind is the best of friends. But for one who fails to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. So the mind is the enemy when we cannot control it. And that is why when we chant the Hare Krishna mantra, we are encouraged when some ideas come into the mind to ignore them, disregard them, don't even think about them. Sometimes persons say, but I can't help it, I have to think about it. I said, well, you have to talk to your mind like a disobedient child. When a child is disobedient, you say, no, not now. Oh, I want ice cream now. No, not now, later. First you do your homework, and then after you do your homework, then we will give you ice cream. No, now. No. You keep whining, you won't get it later. Okay. So therefore he gives in, he yields, and he does his homework, and then he shows the parents the homework. Okay, now we can give you some ice cream. So the mind is very much like a disobedient child. It always wants its way, and you have to let it know that you are the boss. You're in charge. You're the controller. I'm going to ask for a favor. Right now, the sunbeam is hitting no, don't do anything. The sun is hitting the floor. If Mataji can just move over to her right a little bit, that will block that sunbeam which is coming. There you go. Perfect. Yeah, now that's perfect because it's not in my eyes and I can see you. When it goes in my eyes, I can't see anybody. And I like to communicate with, I also know that there is somebody there. I'm not talking to the walls. So thank you very much for helping me. As the sun moves and I keep talking, I may have to Prabhuji, he will have to walk. So be prepared. Don't let your knees go to sleep yet. Thank you very much for your help in that. Anyway, miseries which come from our own body and mind. And they're always there. Oh, and as you get older, you get the ankle problems, you get the knee problems. I mean, I don't have to tell you, I'm an old man myself now, knee problems. But fortunately, Krishna has pretty much spared me in spite of my age, because I do a lot of yoga. But knee problems, ankle problems, hip problems, back problems, neck problems. Even now I have some stiffness. You see, I'm doing like this because there's some stiffness there. So, all these things, but they don't really bother hurt, but sometimes they can get to the point where they're hurt. Oh, I got a stiff neck. And you walk around like this, and you can't even look straight at somebody. You look at them like this, he thinks, so what's wrong with you? Is something wrong that you're looking like? So the point is this, is that miseries which come from our own body and mind. I was on the mental ones, but sometimes the mental miseries can really become very bad. The anxiety becomes certain. You have to take examinations, and you're worried that you may fail. If you fail the exam, you cannot rise to a higher promotion. You can't get to a better position, especially in computer science nowadays. Every few months they're making changes in the science, and you have to keep up with it. And one of my students or devotees, he's a computer engineer. He says, I have to keep going back to school. There's no end to it. There's always, if I want to keep up and not lose my job, I have to learn the latest things. They're coming out with these iPods and iPads and all sorts of different kinds of what do they call those things? Add-ons and apps and numerous things of that sort. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Nice to see you. So they're coming out all the time with these different things, and you have to keep up with it. Otherwise, you don't keep your job. And if you don't keep your job, then what is it? So it's very important. It's very competitive too, in order to stay afloat, as they say, in the material world nowadays. So miseries which come from the body and the mind, and that's the thing. And then there are the miseries which come from other living entities, and the miseries which come from other living entities, it can come out of the blue, so to speak. Yeah, I'm getting that. Is there a Venetian blind in the back there? If you have, otherwise I'm going to have to move my seat. I don't mind doing that, but there are blinds, and we can lower them. Oh, we have a replacement. Perfect. Thank you so much. We're sorry to see you leave, and thank you for the few minutes that you allowed me to serve you. Yeah, Hare Krishna. Oh, that's nice. He's standing right in front of the sunbeam. Wonderful. Okay. That's fine. This is perfect. Thank you, Sanatan Prabhuji. So, and now we actually have two shields, one right off by the window. But if you prefer that seat, now it's okay because Sanatan he's in position. Okay, so miseries which come from the other living entities. Sometimes in the summertime you get bitten by a mosquito. Every time you go like this, and even if you or shoo them away, they keep coming back because they're bloodthirsty. That's their food, and they like your blood. So what you can do, you can't argue and say, look, go find something. They're going to other living entities. Or you walk by a house, immediately the dog starts barking. And if the gate is open, you have to be careful that it's not one of those, what are those killer dogs? What do they call them? Those with the big jaws? The pit bulls. Yeah, sometimes every few days I'm reading, not reading, but hearing on the TV news that some little child got mauled by a pit bull. Pit bull got out and sometimes even killed. So you haven't done anything. All you did is just walk by. But that he's so possessive and so territorial that he thinks you're coming to take over his territory. And get out of my way, and I'll make sure you're out of the way. And you're not going to harm my master, because my master has to feed me today. And if you harm him, I don't get fed, so I kill you. This is the mentality of. I'm just giving an example of being affected, hurt by other living entities. If you want, you can come back down. The beam has gone away. Krishna has done a miracle. He's moved the sunbeam to another area so that I can see you all. Thank you, Krishna. Anyway, getting back to the point. So other living entities, or sometimes you're walking along, or you're in a bus, or or you're even driving along, and somebody suddenly you just cut somebody off, not because you wanted to do that, but because you didn't have any choice. Somebody was getting too close. He was slowing down the person in front of you. So you have to get out of that area, and consequently you cut somebody else off. You didn't do it deliberately or maliciously or harmfully. You just did it because you had to do it. So then he pulls up on the side of you, and he immediately emits this road rage. Where did you get your license? And they start to, you ought to be off the road. And he's on like this. And then if you don't have any self-control, then you say, no, you ought to be off the road. Oh, really? And he takes out a gun and says, I'll show you who's going off the road. And somebody's off the road. And then somebody's going to the penitentiary. They'll both be off the road. So the only road they're going to see is the road gang, which they chain them all together, and they have to do work chained up. So this is this example. This is not something fictional or something I'm making up. This is happening every day. Somebody is evincing road rage. Can't control. So the mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and its enemy as well. If you conquer the mind is your friend. If you can't conquer him, he's your enemy. And I just gave you a perfect illustration of how the mind can become your enemy and get you put into the penitentiary. For one who conquers the mind, I already said that. For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is very difficult to attain. But for one who is able to control the mind, self-realization is easier to do. So I'm trying to bring out this so that we have a full understanding of what it means to be affected by the material world. And there are so many examples of that. I gave extreme examples just so that we understand that there are smaller examples that come about. In the workplace, somebody is not fully appreciating your work, and even though it's a good job, but he manages to find some fault in it. For example, you wrote out some paper about something that needs to be done, and he's your supervisor, and he's reading it, and he says, "Well, he doesn't like giving out." He doesn't like giving out praise because he feels somehow it takes him down to a lower level, as if he's losing something by praising you. So he looks at it and he said, "Well, you forgot the comma here. It should have a comma before the word but." Didn't they teach you that in grade school? When the 5th grade, you don't know that you put a comma after the word but? And look at this word, however. Again, you should be a semicolon here. Don't you know that? And you forgot to capitalize this particular word, don't you? So he's fine. And this word that you used, however, is not the best word. You could have used the word nevertheless. You see, he's looking for something to find fault with so that he can prop himself up and make himself feel superior. And so, of course, if you have control over your mind, then you say, "Well, of course, I'm sorry, it was a stupid mistake." He says, "Yes, it was a stupid mistake." And but nonetheless, I hope you won't make it again. No, I will try my best. In fact, I'll take a course in simple grammar at the community college they have in my neighborhood. I get these circulars. Go to the community, you can learn grammar. You can learn how to speak like a Charles Dickens. So anyway, important point is that that's problems that we get from other living entities. They're always looking to push you or pull you or down you or talk about you, gossip. They just can't help it. Because everybody wants to be a lord in this material world. They want to be important. They're feeling small. He had an argument with his wife, and she called him an idiot, or she called him a fool, and she told him that he should go back to school. And so he couldn't get that out of his mind, so he takes it out on his workers. That's the way it works. And the worker is thinking, well, yeah, it's true, maybe I made a few mistakes, but why is he making such a big deal about this? Why didn't he just correct it and say, yeah, well, but it's really nice. But accentuate the positive and don't kind of eliminate the negative. It's not so important. So that's the nature of in the living entities in the material world. And then there were all those wonderful classical miseries that we get when there is a tornado and you have this house that has come to you for 3 generations. It's already 125 years old, and the feeling is it will never disappear because Grandpa had it, and then my father had it, and now I have it, and so why would it disappear? And then because you live in the Midwest in Tornado Alley, the tornado comes, and one day you come home from work. There is no house there. The house is now 50 yards away, scattered in pieces of wood here and there and everywhere. And this is the mistake in our consciousness, thinking that things go on forever. Your body doesn't go on forever. Your house may not go on forever. Our children may not go on, certainly will not go on forever. Nothing goes on forever. It has to end sometime. And the more we pound this into our head every morning, that I may die today, let me try to remember Krishna as much as possible. Because where do I want to go when I die? I want to go back to Krishna. And I want to serve him. Or if I must come back to this material world, that's not such a bad thing if I come into the house of a devotee. If I'm born in the house of a devotee, and he teaches me devotional service, then that's the same as being in Vaikuntha, because all they do there is excuse me, is they serve Krishna. True, in the material world, A devotee may get some, I mentioned those 3 different miseries, but if you are a devotee, you can actually use them for further spiritual benefit. When something is coming, one can say that, well, Krishna is giving me this because I have made offenses, I have done wrongs, I forget him, I ignore him, and so forth. So Krishna is trying to remind me, by giving me this ache in my neck, to remind me that life is temporary. I'm not going to be here forever. So therefore, I welcome this. I thank you for the pain in my neck, Krishna, because at least now I remember I'm not here forever. I'm going to be here a short time. And what have I been doing? Because I'm thinking I'm going to be here forever. I've been forgetting you. I'm ignoring you. I'm thinking, well, so I don't remember you today, so what? I'll remember you tomorrow. And then tomorrow you say the same thing. And then the next day, same thing. A month goes by, a year goes by, and hardly are we ever thinking of Krishna. And all we're thinking of is matter, material, success, improvement, being a big shot, being a controller, being a proprietor, being a sense enjoyer, and being the friend of everyone. Everyone is praising you, and everyone's liking you, and everyone's saying nice things. This is not what life is about, really. Those things are going on, but what life is about is, are we pleasing Krishna? Are we satisfying him, which is what the purport says. We must satisfy Krishna. Krishna says, work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu must be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, perform your prescribed duty for his satisfaction. So, how do we perform our prescribed duty for his satisfaction? Well, we have to think about him. The ideal way to get it for his satisfaction is when we're doing the duty. Well, there are some works where you can't actually really be thinking of Krishna because of the nature of the work. It may be something mechanical, and your mind is fixed and focused upon this thing, and you have to be focused on it. But there is a breathing spell, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes later. You put it down, and then you can say, what is the purpose of my doing this? I'm doing this to please Krishna. So to please Krishna, I need to do it well. And who is the source of all intelligence? Who is the source of all knowledge? Who is the source of all perfection, expertise? Krishna is. So if we want to serve and please Krishna, we need to receive from him his guidance, his direction. If we receive his guidance, his direction, then we will naturally begin to do the job in the best possible way that it can be done, because he's perfect. Even though when he plays as a child, sometimes he acts as if he's not perfect. But that's deliberate and intentional, you see. But there is nothing he cannot do perfectly. And generally speaking, he tries to make mistakes so that he puts everyone at ease, making them think he's just one of the guys. Like with the cowherd boyfriends, he duels with them. They're only 6, 7 years old, and they're dueling, with sticks in the forest. And the one who loses has to carry the winner on his shoulders. So Krishna loses. He who's holding up all the planets and making them going around the suns, he loses a little battle to 5-year-old children. For fun. He gets a lot of fun out of this. So then the kids, they said, okay, Krishna, you have to take me on your shoulders now. So Krishna puts him on the shoulders, and he says, oh, next time I'm going to beat you. I'll defeat you. You see, he's playing like a child, and he's getting a lot of fun out of this. Actually, children, they don't realize how they are serving Krishna. He has so many different ways in which he can be blissed out, so to speak. The children are serving him. Mother Yashoda, as I explained last night, she's serving him, protecting him, helping him, guiding him, warning him, chastising him. He's getting pleasure out of all of this. It's maybe hard for us to understand, but here Krishna, he comes to the world not only to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants and reestablish the principles of religion. Not only this, but he comes here to please his devotees, to have intimate pastimes with his devotees. And in those intimate pastimes, he derives a lot of pleasure. when he's with his friend Arjun. So they go out practicing archery together, or they may be hunting together, or they're just talking about warrior sports, warrior talk, about this bow and this chariot and that chariot, and which makes the chariot go faster, and how to make the horses go fast. This is kind of what you call shop talk between Arjun and Krishna. So this is in the mood of friendship. And then, of course, when I mentioned when Krishna is in the mood of little kiddie friendship, then there's it's a more frolicsome and a more, you might say, intimate way of interacting with the friends. They don't watch how they speak so much. They're not so cultured. They say, this, how the kids stack. No, like one will say to the other, Krishna is like 50 yards away, and the other one says, I'll race you to Krishna. I bet you I'll beat you. No, I'm going to beat you. Okay, ready, set, go. One, and whoosh, and they're there. And then each one tries to touch Krishna, and they almost get at the same moment. And then one of them says, I won. No, I won. And then Krishna says, no, it doesn't matter who won. The main thing is that you both are good runners, so let's get going and let's do our pastimes. So he's talking just like a little kid, like a child, like he doesn't even know the best grammar. That's part of his fun. It's very much like, and maybe I can give a little illustration of this. If any of us have ever been in a play on stage, and you get to play a different part. Sometimes you get a part to play an old man, or sometimes you get a part to play a weakling, a person he's spineless and everything. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, I can't do this. Please don't make me do this. That kind of a thing. Or you get to play the part of a very big, tough, courageous man. Don't get in my way, because if you do, it's the end for you, and you're playing the part, and you're having a lot of fun doing that, is it not? So I've been in not many, but when I did all these audio books that you get to hear about while you're driving your car, I had a lot of fun doing all those different characters and lady voices and old man, and I especially loved the demon voices, don't you get in my way, because if you do, I will kill you. So I got all into this kind of, and it was fun. So I was thinking well, if it's fun for me, then, and where do we get all of our fun is derived basically from the original fun lover, which is Krishna. So if we're getting fun and pleasure out of doing this type of acting, like, for example, in next week, Halloween is coming up. Now, what does everybody put on all this masquerades? Some will look like a skeleton, some will look like a ghoul, some even, believe it or not, they even put on the karmis, they put on the Hare Krishna skull cap, with the Sika hanging down. Somebody took me to a Halloween party of all. It wasn't a devotee when I was working in the movie industry some years ago. And there was a guy who was dressed up like a Hare Krishna. Yeah, and then somebody is dressed up like a Frankenstein, and he walks around like this. Yeah, so why do they do that? Because it's fun. You're out of your so-called real self, and you're playing the part of somebody else. And often at these Halloween parties or masquerade parties, nobody knows who is who. And that's the fun of it all. And you disguise your voice and so forth. Even Arjuna, when he wanted to gain the hand of Subhadra, so he disguised himself as a sannyasi. Now, Balaram, he knows Arjuna's voice. He's a big, heavy warrior voice, big, deep, gruff, kind of like that. That's the way they speak. Hey, get me that over there. So they have naturally, even Krishna's voice is described like a thundering cloud. But if he were to talk in his normal way, then Balaram would have discovered that Arjuna is playing the part of the sannyasi. And why is he coming here dressed as a sannyasi? Of course, the reason he was there is to find out if Subhadra had any affection for him. Now, even as a sannyasi, with the long beard, he put on a false beard and long hair, and even as a sannyasi, if there was any connection between those two, and Srila Prabhupada said that connection was made in heaven long before. But if there was that connection, then she would feel some attraction for him. He already felt an attraction for her, and Krishna gave him an idea of how he could win her. First, you have to find out whether she really features you, really wants to be with you, loves you. And so he put on this disguise, and he was enjoying it, and Balaram and him were speaking. Some of you may be wondering, well, Balaram is Vishnu Tattva. Why wouldn't he know this? Because Krishna is the original Vishnu Tattva, and he's in charge of, he kept the secret of when he was playing the part of all these different cowherd boys. Balaram didn't know that until about a year later. He kept it from him. So Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and so is Balaram, but he's under the control of Krishna. And he himself recognizes this. He loves to serve Krishna in spite of the fact that he's the older brother, you see. So, therefore, getting back to Arjuna, it's a very funny story when you come down to it, because Subhadra actually, when she sees him, the reason she's there when Balaram and Arjuna are having lunch is that Balaram likes his sister to serve the holy men so that she could make spiritual advancement. Because you always make advancement when you serve the holy men. So she's there and she's looking at the sannyasi and she's saying, and she's feeling her heart is going boom, 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 boom. And she's looking away, but no sooner does she look away, she's looking like this, with one eye this way and the other eye looking this way. And what happens is when she's looking and seeing him, he's looking up and seeing her. So the eyes are clicking, and then she looks away from this. So this is going on through the whole meal. And she's feeling devastated because it's not proper for a chaste girl, daughter of Vasudev, sister of Vasudev, and sister of Balaram, should be the chaste of the chaste of the chaste. And here she is, she's got the eyes for this sannyasi, which is terrible because after all, they don't like to make a sannyasi fall down. And she's one of the most beautiful women on the planet. So she's having really a conflict of interest here. She wants to get married, but of course she would want to marry a person who would be a householder. Anyway, what happens is that night, I'm digressing a little bit because this story is so relishable that I can't resist it. That night she can't go to sleep. And she's tossing and turning, and she's feeling this tremendous love for this sannyasi, and she doesn't want to feel love because it's wrong, it's bad, it's everything that her mother and her father and Krishna and Balaram taught her she should not do. Of course, she has been already set up to become married to Duryodhana. And of course, on the one hand, she wouldn't mind being married to this sannyasi, but it's better than Duryodhana. Everybody knows he's the worst of the worst. He's an abject rogue, but better a sannyasi and elope with him. So, but she's saying, but that would be wrong also, because after all, it goes against good ethics, good morality. So she decides that she sends a message to her maidservant, go call Krishna, bring him over here. He knows all about detachment. So Krishna comes, he comes to the garden, her garden there. It's a quiet little meeting that they have. And she says, I fell in love just with this sannyasi. Now Krishna knows who the sannyasi is because he set the whole thing up. So she says, I fell in love with this sannyasi and I couldn't sleep all night. And I want you to please tell me, how can I get detached from him? Just the way you attach and detach so easily. So tell me the secret now. So he says, are you sure you really want to be detached from him? So she says, of course I want to be. He's a sannyasi. So he said, so, you know how Krishna would joke often. He would say, well, suppose he wasn't a sannyasi. She said, what do you mean, suppose he wasn't a sannyasi? He is a sannyasi. How can you say suppose? Just suppose, if he wasn't a sannyasi, would you be interested in giving him your hand? Well, of course I would. Why am I in love with him if I wasn't? Well, that's a stupid question. She says, now tell me how I can detach myself. Wait, we're not finished. Suppose I were to tell you, just suppose that sannyasi wasn't really a sannyasi. She says, Krishna, I didn't come here to play mind games. I came here for advice. I came here for help. And here you are just playing with my mind, as you do, for your gopi friends and your Radha and this. Please, give me a straightforward answer. No, I'm giving you. Please, suppose he wasn't a sannyasi. All right, this is going nowhere. All right, I'm going to tell you for sure now, he's not a sannyasi. And she says, now you're lying. Another trick. No, I'm telling you the God's honest truth. I swear on our mother and father, he is not a sannyasi. Well, if he's not a sannyasi, what is he? He's a kshatriya in disguise. A kshatriya? And she got interested now. A kshatriya? Really? For fur? Absolutely. But who is he? He is the Pandava, Arjun. The Pandava, Arjun? Oh, I've always thought about him. But why did he put on this disguise? Well, first of all, he wanted to find out whether you would be as affectionate to him as he was towards you. Because he saw you up in the Raivati, they were having a big ceremony that day, and there was all kinds, like a festival, like a Ratha Yatra, so to speak. So he saw her walking, and then he asked Krishna, who is she? And he said, she's my sister. So he said, well, in modern day parlance, we would say, well, you think you can set up something for me? Can you set me up? Yeah. He said, well, she's already ready to be married to Duryodhana. He said, Duryodhana, no, that's torment, torture for your sister. You can't allow that to happen. He says, you're absolutely right. My father doesn't like it. My mother doesn't like it. Balaram is the only one who likes it because he has some obligation to Duryodhana. He taught him club fighting, and Duryodhana just treated him like he was 100 kings, with such courtesy and such brilliance and such courtesy and so much. So he says, therefore he felt beholden, obliged to do something nice for Duryodhana, notwithstanding that he's the worst rogue in the world. Anyway, for what happened was that, long story, finally bring that to an end. But I hear we have a lot of time today. So how that finally ended, as you all know, is that she became when she heard that it was Arjun who was the Kshatriya. So he said, well, he's ready to steal you. It's not kidnapping. Kidnapping it means going against the will, usually of the girl and the family. But this was not kidnapping, because Vasudeva and Devaki, they wanted her away from Duryodhana, but they gave Balaram the authority to get her married. So the situation was, well, what's going to happen? So it was arranged that when she would be going up to Raivata Hill, they were doing a ceremony up there in the temple, and when they would come down, Arjun would be there without his false beard and and he would be there, and he would immediately put his hands on her waist and put her in his chariot and drive off. And long story short, finally, Balaram was steaming mad. He was ready to kill Arjun. He says, this is a disgrace, this is this. And Krishna, out of his humility, he got down on his knees. He put his palms together, and he says, my dear Balaram, my elder brother, first of all, you want the best for our sister, don't you? Well, she's in love with Arjun. He says, well, so what? And he's in love with her. Well, so what? But they would make a perfect couple. Two people but she doesn't love Duryodhana. And then it began to hit him. And another thing, what is the harm if she marries Arjun? He's one of the greatest warriors in the world. That's a plus for our family. And the Yadu dynasty and the Kuru dynasty will become even closer by marital ties. Well, Balaram, he liked that idea. And so Krishna went on mentioning one point after another. And finally, Balaram, seeing his brother on his knees with his palms together, he says, please see things from the overall point and from our sister's point of view, that why don't we both try to make her happy? And then he said, all right, how can I resist when you ask me like that? And then tears started coming down Balaram's cheeks, because he was so touched by the humility and the warmth and the affection and kindness and the plea and the appeal, which was so sincere, the desire for a sister to be happy. rather than to be, for her whole life will be a life of true misery. We were talking about the different miseries which come from other living entities, and for sure, if Subhadra was married to Duryodhana, that would really be a misery from another living entity. No question about it. So anyway, Arjuna and Subhadra are on his chariot. They try to find him. Anyway, Balaram, he yields to it. He said, okay, send some warriors out there on the road. Arjuna's driving. Tell them that I completely accept this and we can have the marriage. And then the marriage took place. And Arjuna married Subhadra. And then they had the child. They had the child Abhimanyu, and so forth. And from Abhimanyu Abhimanyu, he was married, and then Parikshit eventually came from that marriage. So the point is this: is that we all enjoy, as they say, putting on the dog. We all enjoy masquerading. There's a pleasure in it. It comes from Krishna, and therefore it has its. That's why Krishna enjoys. Also, Krishna dresses himself up. There are not of pastimes. He dresses himself up as a lady, as a girl. He disguises himself, and he goes amongst the gopis, and they think that she's some new girl who moved into the neighborhood. Yeah. And then he talks to them about Krishna as if he's putting on I forgot to mention Arjuna, he had to raise his voice, so he probably put on a high-pitched girl voice when he was talking to Balaram, maybe in a little more like this, rather than in that gruff warrior tone, and talking more like that, nasal. So therefore, Balaram it didn't occur to him that this could be Arjuna, because and also he had 2 months to fast a little and get his body down to a lower body weight, because the Kshatriyas are built with big shoulders, big chests. So he had 2 months. It was the rainy season, not 2 months, 4 months. It was the rainy season. So in rainy season, everybody generally does a little bit of fasting. So he didn't look like Arjuna as Balaram would know. So it was easier to put on the show than would be otherwise, you see, because he was in that state. Some of you may have wondered about that point, because physically, these are presumptions on my part, or assumptions on my part, because otherwise Balaram is no dummy. He would see these things, and since it was all completely backed by Krishna, therefore he fell for it. So now let's go to the third kind of misery, which comes to all of us, householders, brahmacharis, but it affects the householders very strongly, because we have all of these attachments. And as I already mentioned, the house of the person, the tornado comes, and the house is there. And they feel so sorrowful, so grievous, so lachrymose that, we've lost all these. You see them on television when they get interviewed. We had this family heirlooms. We had this album, family pictures. My grandfather, when he held me on his lap. And it's sad, because those things which gave so-called meaning, which really... they're here today and gone tomorrow. It's different if it's some great spiritual personality, like Srila Prabhupada. You have something, you lose something, because that's connected with the eternal. So people are made miserable. So in spiritual life, the whole idea is to become more and more conscious of the fact that any day may be our last day. And we should learn the art of programming our mind so that we can remember Krishna more and more easily. There are many different ways to do this. In order to remember Krishna, I'll just tell you what I did. I don't like so much talking about myself, but it's something that many devotees have started doing, because it's just very easy to remember Krishna that way. So I used to take a pen, and I would write the letter K on my wrist next to my watch. You see, so because I'm very time management oriented, I would look at my watch, like I see 2 minutes past 9. When do I have to stop? At what time? 9 what? 9:30, okay. Then 15 minutes we can have. We'll only get 2 minutes after. So 9:30 again. So I look at my watch, and then I see this K that I wrote there with my pen. So immediately I think, oh yes, the purpose of life is to serve Krishna, to love Krishna, to honor Krishna, to glorify Krishna, and to, in every and any way possible, to keep him on our mind. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, and even twice, once in the 9th chapter and the 18th chapter, engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer your obeisances, homage to me, and completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. So Krishna makes a promise that if we become absorbed in him, if we remember him. So how do you remember him? You know, you're doing different things. Some of you are sitting at the computer. Yes, but you can have on your computer, you can have a picture of Krishna. See, I keep this here so that I keep looking down. And what do I do when I look down? I glance and very quickly I say I address Krishna, please speak through me. Help me to say what would benefit everybody who is in this room and everyone who is watching, on their computer sets. So why do I do that? Because I don't believe I'm perfect. I don't believe that I'm even able. But with the grace of Krishna, who knows what I can do? Krishna is merciful, he's kind, and he's perfect, and he's great, and he knows what everyone needs. And because he knows that, he can impart that through my mind and out through my words. And that way, persons will feel some connection with these words with Krishna. And that's the whole idea of it. So, I'm mentioning this. So anyway, I would write I did that, it must be 15, 20 years. And then finally I said, why am I writing it every time? Why don't I just go to a tattoo artist? And he can just do it in just 10, 15 minutes, and then I'll have the letter K there, and I don't have to every day do this ritual of writing a K on. So I did that, and I went on Venice Boulevard. There's a tattoo artist there, there's a new store they opened up, and I said, I'd like to, I had written the K on it. How much would it cost to write this? He says, well, we have a minimum of $50. I said, $50? You put a whole picture of it for $50. He said, and just this little K, he said, that's our minimum. I said, look, I'm a Hare Krishna devotee. I'm brahmachari. I'm like a beggar. You have to give me some discount and make some advancement in spiritual life. Or Krishna will bless you and you'll get a lot of customers coming in if you serve the devotee. He says, all right. You say, Hare Krishna? I said, yes. I said, uh-oh, here it comes. So I said, yes, Hare Krishna. He says, oh, my brother. He said, my brother goes to that temple. I said, really? What's his name? And he told me his name, what he looks like. Okay, we'll give it to you for $40. So I got it for $40. I said, you will make nice advancement, and maybe you will even get to a heavenly planet. He thought he meant the eternal, but no, he's going to Indraloka maybe. That's the highest he can go for that. Of course, he's drawing all these pictures, obscene pictures on people's bodies and things like that. It's not, but of course, if somehow he becomes involved in drawing pictures of Krishna on the body, there's a lot of hope there. Some devotees, they did a whole Bhakti that article, you remember that, on the pictures of Krishna on devotees' bodies. He can just stand there, with his shirt off, and you can just keep looking at his back for 2 hours and feel ecstasy. It's actually amazing, the different ways that Krishna gives us to think of him. So, anyway, the important point that I wanted to make was that we get these different problems which come from the demigods. They catastrophe. There are floods. We saw the Colorado flood. We saw homes actually just being washed down. Homes that have been in the family for over a century, if not more. Earthquakes come and they blow up different things. And sometimes, generally, people think that these are just coming by accident. They're just coming, out of the blue. It's just happening randomly. You see, but we learn from this book, they're not coming randomly. And if we are slated to receive, because maybe we were soldiers and we blew up somebody's house in the last war, and we never repented, we never did penance, we never even gave it a second thought. Well, we are in line. It's on the books that our house will have to get blown up because we did no penance, we felt no regret, we felt no remorse, we felt nothing. So how do you get a person who feels no remorse at doing something so cowardly and so tragically? because somebody is denied of their house. You blow up their house with a hand grenade and they're civilians, and they're not even soldiers. So how do you justify this? So what happens is at the proper time and the proper place, Krishna will, at some point in time, he'll blow the house up. He doesn't need a gun to do it. All he needs is a nice earthquake, and he makes sure it happens right where that house is. Boom! And the house starts shaking, everything falls apart. And then sometimes these people will say, because they don't know, why us? What have I done to deserve this? And they don't know their past lives. They don't know that they've been given this as a result of the offenses that they committed to other living entities. The safe thing to do is that we should assume that we committed many offenses to many living entities. And we should perform austerities and penances. That's what Kartik is about especially. It means more austerity. It means increasing austerity. If possible, increase the number of rounds, but not just more rounds, better rounds, good quality rounds, rounds which are chanted from the heart, and not just, okay, we're going to do 32 rounds today, so you do your regular Hare Krishna, Krishna. But now, in order to get those other 32, the 16 done, I've only got an hour and a half to do them, so it's got to be sounds like a tobacco auction. Sold American. That's what it sounds like. If you've ever heard a tobacco auction, that's what it sounds like. So what is the value of that? Do you think Krishna is going to appreciate that? You're calling out his name as if it were just like a lucky strike means fine tobacco? Or it was Camel cigarettes, or whatever it is, some other brand. Krishna's name is not Camels. It's not. I forgot the names of the current cigarettes that they sell. I know the ones in the 1940s because I was involved in that sometime. But there's the Pell Mell. They still have that Pell Mell. No more Pell Mell. Pell Mell is Marlboro. They still have those? Marlboro, yeah. So Marlboro, they used to have the Marlboro man with the cowboy hat. So all the guys, the macho men, they would immediately give me a Marlboro with a flip-top box, like that. And they smoke it, and they feel like they're He-Man, toughies, big guys. Don't mess with me. That kind of mentality. I'm serious. People identify with these ads, and that's why they buy them. And then, of course, I think Marlboro, they went into trying to attract the college and Mr. Cool they had. And so they got heavily criticized for that and to trying to get college kids and high school kids to smoke cigarettes. So they immediately pulled those ads. The point is that people identify with those things which are big and repeated. You see them on TV, you see them on billboards, you see them on the internet, on the right-hand side, all those little ads keep coming up. And God forbid you should go on, Google and ask you want to see, for example, you want to see a camera, okay? And you go to Amazon.com and you look at all the cameras, and then you decide you're not going to buy it, and then you get back onto your homepage. My homepage happens to be my email page, and on the right side, one ad keeps coming after another for the very thing that I tried to buy at Amazon. They just keep on. How do they do it? Well, that's computer science for you. So, of course, on the right side of my screen, I have like a cardboard. I just put it against the screen, so I don't even see those things. You have to outfox them. Don't let them fox you in. Otherwise, immediately they stimulate. Maybe you lost the desire to buy it, but they try to keep getting you to buy it. So the problems, the troubles, the tribulations which come from the cataclysms, the demigods, all these things are coming. And the more attached we are, that's what I started this talk about, attachment. The more attached we are to them, the more we suffer. So the question is like little Subhadra went to Krishna and she says, how do I get detached? So of course in this case he didn't want to detach her because it was made in heaven, that romance. But generally speaking, it's good to be detached from from our cars, from our homes. So how do we do that? Krishna tells us how to do that. He tells us that everything in this world, he says, it belongs to me. I'm the owner of everything. So why are you claiming proprietorship over anything? You should think that all this, your house, it belongs to me. And you are managing the house for me. You are my caretaker. If you think of your house as not your house, but the reason we think of it as my house is because it gives us some sense of prestige, some false prestige that, yes, maybe it's a big house. I have this big house, people come to it, and they say, oh, what a beautiful house. And you're identifying yourself, your body earned the money, bought the house, the body and the house seem like one, and so when people praise the house, they're praising your body, and you're identifying with the body, they're praising me, false me. False me in the body, false me in the house. False me in the dog. They say, oh, what a beautiful dog you have. So, oh yes, and you should hear him bark. He barks so beautifully. So, proud of the dog's bark. Oh, and look at, let me show you something. Look at, I'll show you, he's got these beautiful markings near his tail, you know. Who cares about his markings near his tail, you know? But maybe it has, for the dog lovers, maybe it has some prestige value. You know, they enter the dogs in the contest, you know, they put them in knots, they brush them, they groom them, they wash them, they dye their hair, they do all those things. And anyway, the point is this, is that no one should become so attached to these things, because if we lose them, we've sorrow. And Krishna says that we should try to be even-minded. We should be calm-minded. We should try to be tranquil-minded. He says, perform your duty equipoised, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. So success means you have this house, you have this car, you have this job, you have this business, you have this, that, and all these things. It's okay to have them. This, as I said, the title of this is, you can remain a householder, but we have to be householders who are not attached to the objects of their accomplishment. Always consider, Krishna says, you have the right to perform your prescribed duty, but you should not be attached to the fruits of your action. Never consider yourself to be the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your service. So he says, yes, do your service, but do it as a loving service. It's your prescribed duty, and you can do it, and know that I am the cause of giving you this. You don't get it by yourself, even though your false ego falsely makes you think that, yes, I put in the time, I put in the effort, I studied, I, like the Mexican song, I. That's all we want to know about, is the big number one, numero uno. So that's not what it's about. The number one is Krishna. And we're not even number 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. We should be thinking of ourselves so far back. That's what humility is. I'm nothing. I'm worthless. I'm useless. The only reason people think I'm smart and I'm able, I'm intelligent, is because Krishna has given me some intelligence. And through that intelligence that he has, which he's lending me only a tiny, insignificant, inconsiderable fraction, I'm able to, and people are praising me because of him. Not because of anything special in me. And the more we come to understand this, and the more we teach our mind this truism, this reality, this fact, then the mind has to become disabused of its false conception that it is, yes, I'm important, I'm valuable, I'm indispensable, I'm great, I'm glorious, I'm wonderful. It's got to be completely wiped away, totally. This is called self-love, and we have to substitute it with Krishna love. Krishna owns the house. Krishna owns the car. Krishna, if you're an artist, Krishna is enabling me to draw beautiful pictures. And if you have any honesty as an artist, you will think of yourself as a horrible artist, even no matter how good you are, because if you look up at the sky in the early morning, or in the evening, and you see the way when the clouds are starting, the sun is starting to set, and the clouds have this beautiful silver, golden, pink lining, and you see the most magnificent artwork just playing out in the clouds for a few minutes. And you say, wow, what a creator. This is absolutely magnificent, you see. So nobody should feel proud, because when you see what's going on, you look out these beautiful trees, I see them all around. And the more you become Krishna conscious, the more beautiful they become. The reason they become beautiful is because Krishna is letting you see things through his eyes. He's the one who makes them. He creates them. He molds them. It comes out of his conception. And the result of that is a beautiful, gorgeous tree. And it's so nice the way when the light plays on it, or the light, mottled light on it, and the way it grows, and some of the fragrances that come out of these flowers. So who makes this fragrance? You know, we have these perfume factories, and they make the fragrance. Well, the perfume comes from the flowers, and they crush the flowers in such a way that they get the fragrance out of it, and then they make the perfume. And, they take 10 flowers, which they just grow there for virtually nothing. And then what happens is that they charge you $50 for a little bottle of perfume, so that you can become attractive when you walk down the aisles, And everybody will know you're walking down, because, after all, some of these fragrances are so intense. I have just outside of my window a Nag Champa tree. Has anybody ever smelled the little yellow Nag Champa flowers? They make incense out of it. It's absolutely they're riveting and intoxicating. If you keep smelling it, you will definitely be violating one of the regulative principles. No question about it. You're allowed 1 or 2 smells after Krishna has smelled it, and that's it. No more. Otherwise, you're going overboard. Out of bounds. Same with there are other different flowers that are so. Who can do this? Where does that fragrance come from? It comes from Krishna, the body of Krishna. His body is so full of different fragrances, and Srimati Radharani's body, comes from his body, he manifests as Srimati Radharani originally. So the fragrances that are exuding from these bodies are so overwhelming and so captivating and so charming. So therefore, even the perfume factories it doesn't compare to the original, that when you smell it from the tree, it just has a subtlety to it. The important point is Krishna is He's the intelligence. He says this in the Bhagavad Gita, I am the intelligence of all living beings. I am the light of the sun and the moon. I'm the light of the sun and the moon, the taste of water, the syllable Om in Vedic mantras. I am the ability in man. He says, I am ability in man, and the syllable, the ability in man, and the sound in ether. So Krishna is in everything, and everything that we see comes from Krishna. So he is the intelligence. So the secret of losing our attachment is giving the full credit to which we associate ourselves and take pride in ourselves, giving that credit to Krishna. And the more we give credit to Krishna, this was made by you, this comes from you. I got this car from you, Krishna. I am driving this car for you, Krishna. I'm driving this car for you, Krishna. I am your chariot. When I get into my car, I say, thank you, Krishna, for protecting your little chariot so that I can do some service for you. You could have let it gotten stolen. One of my cars was once stolen, but I never used to say this prayer. Now I say this prayer. Every time I come to the car, and I have this beautiful little picture of Krishna there, kind of a little like this one, and I say, thank you for protecting the car so that I can do your service. And sure enough, believe it or not, it's a 1989 Nissan. I only have 40,000 miles on it. Shows you I don't do too much traveling. But the important point is it's Krishna's car, and why should I go and sell it and get a new one? I can afford it. But it works perfectly. And the principle of a devotee is not how classy you look, but the utility of the object. if it's useful as it is, then why not continue using it? True, a little of the paint chipped off here and a little over there, but unless you look closely, you don't even see that. And when I have a person go over the car and he washes it down, it looks beautiful. And I won't even get it painted because nobody's criticizing. And even if somebody criticizes, none of his business. So the important point really is that everything belongs to Krishna. This is what we need to take out of this talk. You already know this, but we need to pound it in. This is the way I'm working on it, and I'm not completely accomplished in it, far from it, to be quite frank. But even I'm walking on the street, I'll say, I'm walking for you, Krishna. And I say that again and again. I walk for you, Krishna. And after I'm about to engage in a conversation, in my mind I'm thinking, I will speak for you, Krishna. I talk for you, Lord. And then you have your conversation, and you remember that, because it'll be in your mind that you want to speak for the Lord. And so when you want to speak from the Lord, for the Lord, what will happen is Krishna will inspire you with thoughts and ideas and feelings and words that will be of a higher nature than you might otherwise expressed when you don't think of Krishna. In other words, you get the best possible deal when you bring Krishna into the mix. This is the most important thing, you see. So, walking, I'm just giving you simple examples. Maybe you're gardening or you're mowing the lawn. I'm mowing the lawn for you, Krishna. You could be thinking of any stupid thing that comes up from the news or something that happened, some gossip thing, or somebody has somebody, as I mentioned, like the car got bent, or maybe the wind took off a part of the roof, or so. I mean, you could be thinking of those things, which is not going to do any good. You might as well just call the roof fixer and let him fix it. But just thinking about it, will he do a good job? Is he going to overcharge me? And how much more is he going to overcharge me? You get into this whole thing. It becomes like a fiction, like you're writing a book based upon some past experience, and it's hard to get those out of the mind. So the important point is this is Krishna's. This is your car. This is your house. This business that I have, this is your business. And now you tell me how to run it. You guide me how to run it. If you have to prove some cases in the court, like sometimes you have to do before you go there, my dear Lord, you're the master speaker. You can juggle words like nobody can. And therefore, please, you give me the proper, the right, the exact, the specific words so that people think I'm a rhetorician, a person who speaks perfect English and speaks it in such a way that it brings impact, it brings pictures to people's minds, it influences, it persuades, it dissuades, it does all the things that good speech is supposed to have. Has alliteration, has poetry, Krishna has it all. So look at the Bhagavad Gita. He just that was spontaneous speaking, and look how poetic the whole thing got. So before you're coming to your case, you spend 10, 15 minutes, my dear Lord, please. This is your case, and you're using me. Now, please, however it comes out is your business. But all I want to do is the best possible job that a lawyer could do. So would you allow me to just serve you nicely? I'm begging you, please. And generally speaking, unless Krishna has some axe to grind with you, I'm preparing you for the worst. Unless he has some axe to grind with you, generally he likes that. He likes when the devotees call upon him. Why does he like that? Because he's our parent. He's our father. He's our closest relative. He wants our closeness. For example, some of you are parents. Your kid goes off to college. And what do you say to them? Well, years ago, they used to say, would you please write home? Please send me a letter. Or it was very expensive to make telephone calls in the 1950s and 60s. I mean, $2 was like $20 today, $30 maybe. So you always say, write home, or would you please give us a telephone call to let us know you're feeling well? Or nowadays, please send me an email at least once every few days. Parent says to the kids, why? Because they feel a connection with your body. They brought your body, they fed you, they clothed you, but they don't know that they didn't do anything. Krishna gave them the wherewithal to feed you, to clothe you, to shelter you, and so forth. But they're taking the credit for that because it was their love. But they don't even know that the love that they lavished upon you, that came from Krishna too. How many millions of people are walking around lovelessly? So many people are in mental institutions just looking like this, not even any willpower, no feeling. No, they actually, from all the medications they get, they're just sitting like this all day long. That's so, say they can be peaceful. That's peaceful, yes, very peaceful. So the important point here is that we need to... we're just close to almost finishing up time. So the important point for detachment, and you need to slam it into your head, it doesn't want to give up its attachment. It likes to feel like an owner. It likes to feel, because we came into this world to be lords. Well, how do you become a lord unless you have a lot of cars, you have a big house, you have people praising you and honoring you, you have a lot of sense pleasure. Krishna says to this the Queen Puranjani when her husband King Puranjana died, he comes dressed as a Brahmin in a disguise, kind of like a disguise, and he says, "My dear friend, even though you cannot remember me, can't you remember that in the past you had a very intimate friend? Unfortunately, you gave up my company to accept a position as an enjoyer of this world." There it is. You were with Krishna, you were intimate with Krishna, but you gave up that relationship, that intimacy, that closeness to enjoy the material world, only to be afflicted by the three kinds of miseries which are the result of actions we performed under the three modes of nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. We need to be free of the three modes, completely free of them. And how do you get free of them? By becoming more and more Krishna conscious. You associate with the modes, you increase that mode. You associate with Krishna, you increase that consciousness. It's as simple as that. Your heart begins to expand. You feel more love. You feel more devotion. You feel more submission. You feel more surrender. That's the result of associating with Krishna. You can associate with him in his name, but again, I emphasize to everyone, please, when you chant the name, chant it with your heart. Quality rounds is better than quantity rounds. All you do is you get brownie points or Cub Scout points for doing lots of rounds. But that's all you'll get. And you may even get to a heavenly planet. Jesus Christ, he would say, it was very interesting. They had these Pharisees and Sadducees, if you've read the Bible. They were what you call real experts in their, the Mosaic laws and the rules. They knew it backwards and forwards, and they were experts. So, they would call Jesus and, why are you healing somebody on the Sabbath? So he answered, well, the Sabbath is made for man, not man made for the Sabbath. Which means that the Sabbath has enabled you. In other words, you abstain from certain things on the Sabbath. Sabbath means it's like it starts on Friday night and it ends after Saturday, and you observe religious functions on that day. So the result is that you become purified by observing the Sabbath. But Jesus, he wanted to heal somebody who is suffering. So not you should give up an opportunity to help someone be free of suffering. That's what the Sabbath is all about, to help us to help other human beings. So my point is this, is that when his disciples said, well, where are they going ultimately? What is their destination? He says, all they will get is the he says, that's all they're going to get, the prestige that they're trying to get by, they do this davening on the street, they're reading the scriptures and making a lot of prayers out loud. He says, yes, people think that they're very religious and very holy and very important, and that sense of prestige that they get, that's what they're going to get. They're coming back to get the same thing over and over again. But you, my disciples, by surrendering to the Supreme Lord, by not wanting false prestige, by giving up that as useless and worthless, then what you will get is you will get the eternal world. You will get the kingdom of God, and you will serve God forever. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki. Thank you. You're applauding me, and I committed the most vicious offense against you. I didn't give you a chance to ask some questions. Huh? Oh, we can still? Oh, wonderful. Okay. Are there any questions that anybody can embarrass me, shame me, put me in my proper place and position? Yes. Anybody? You have the mic? Yes. Yes, Prabhuji. What is your good name?
My name is Mukharavinda Das.
What?
Mukharavinda Das.
Mukharavinda
Das.
Mukharavinda Das. Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much for wonderful class and bringing us so much close to Krishna and his teachings. And I really relish your class.
Thank you. I'm glad that it.
And
that's Krishna's mercy. Yes.
And thank you so much, Prabhuji. And I'm very fond of the audio book, and I also give many of my friends, and they're like, I just saw that one of my friend, he was like not so much, and he was having some favorable for Krishna consciousness, but not so much. And he just started listening, and now he's in 6th or 7th canto, and I see just how his heart has completely changed just by hearing.
Just by listening to that?
Just by listening the audio book of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Wow.
It's amazing. And he has not only, he has given to his friend and his friend, so it's like communicating.
Really?
And
wow.
Everyone is becoming that they are getting that thing that you are. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing that. No, it makes me enthusiastic. We didn't put out any of them.
Yeah.
Are any of you coming tonight? There's a home program tonight. Are all of you coming tomorrow to the Sunday feast by any chance? Maybe, yeah? Okay, well anyway, I'll put them out for those of you who are here. If you might be, I have this new USB which has my entire collection. Many were bought last night. I was absolutely amazed. But it has everything on there. Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna book, teachings of Queen Kunti, teachings of Lord Kapila, teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Sharanagati, Sri Ishopanishads, Nectar of Instruction, Nectar of Devotion. I mean, you get it all for about less than half of the price of if you bought them individually. So I will put them out if you just give me a moment or so. While you're doing something else, we'll get the table up and I'll spread them out. Yeah. So, but thank you for sharing that with me. I'm very grateful. This is all Prabhupada's mercy and Krishna's mercy. Yes.
And I just like you. And how many? I was just inquisitive. How many years it took you to complete this work? And is anything you like to share when you did this service to Prabhupada? Like, is anything?
How many years?
Yeah, it took for you to complete
do all
Bhagavatam.
Those, to what? To record all those things?
To record Bhagavatam at least.
I did most of my recordings starting from 1984 till 1992. Those were the bulk of them. Then in 1996, when we had the centennial, I offered the Prabhupada Lilamrita, the 5th book, which was Let There Be a Temple, which was one of the most exciting of all of the 7 books, I believe there were. So that's, and then I think I did one more. Let me see after that. Oh yes, I did another one, Vaishnav Saints, which was done after 1996 and 1997. And that's all. I've never done anything further. That part of my life was then ended. We go in phases. That phase, then my next phase was a writing phase. So for 14, 15 years I've been writing books and so forth. That phase is now over. Now Krishna's kicked me into another phase, and that is traveling and preaching. That's all I do every week, and I'm in a different state or a different city, just doing what I'm doing here tonight. And I'm relishing every moment of it. And on the other hand, I always was a writer from the time I was 11 years old. It was in me to do that. But Krishna took the desire away. And I was wondering, why would he take such... It's so automatic, and I've learned the art of how to do it, because he has another plan. And if you go with the flow of his plan, you will always be happier than if you try to force it. And it's true, although I wrote a particular book, interesting, I wrote a book which is actually part of the Mahabharata. And it was, according to this person who was editing, he was an editor of a major Doubleday, major publishing company, an editor of a number of companies like that. And he helped me he made a few corrections, a few changes here and there, and he gave me a different... So after it was all done, the interesting thing about it, he said, you shouldn't have any problem selling this. He said, it reads smoothly, it's a well-written book, etc., etc. Couldn't even get an agent on it. I've had books which were 100 times worse written, but I could get an agent on it. But it never got anywhere, though. The important thing is when Krishna, that's good that didn't, because you wouldn't be sitting here today. I would be out there in Carmyville just writing what you call hack novels, yeah. So anyway, the important thing was that he tried. He gave it to... When you're a publisher, you deal with agents all the time. And so he had what you call personal relationships. Krishna would not allow that book to be sold. And I read it. I said, why wouldn't he? Because he didn't want me to be successful in that. He had a different plan. And this is the plan. I wouldn't be sitting with all of you. I wouldn't be traveling around. Because he wants me to do this. We need as many preachers as possible. So you have to surrender. And when you surrender, you're the happy person for that. So you mentioned, anyway, Jad, I already answered how long it took. The Bhagavatam took 2 years to do. It could have been done in 1 year, but my engineer took his vacations, I took mine, and and I was raising funds at the same time working as a movie extra in the Hollywood films. So it took longer for that reason. It didn't have to take that long, though.
Thank you so much. I always wonder, even for us to read once, it takes so much. But you have gone through even each and every verse and translated for us. Like each and every book is you're so fortunate, and you're giving the same fortune to so many other conditioned soul, those who can.
The what?
The same fortune you're giving to, and you have gone through each and every line of the Srila Prabhupada book because of this service, and you're giving the same fortune to other.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Just pray for me that I don't go the way of so many persons who are praised and glorified and honored. They fall down. So I ask for your prayers. Please help him to become humble, not to stay humble, but to become humble. And if I can become truly, genuinely modest and humble, then things will go on. And if I think of myself as this, rather than infinitely great, it will continue, because that's what we are. Next to Krishna, we're nothing. But Krishna fills up the space with himself, and wonderful things can happen. And if we beg him to do that, knowing our faults, our weaknesses, our inadequacies, then everything works out fine. But as soon as we begin to get puffed up because you're saying nice things, he's saying nice things, maybe I am better than I thought. No, you should never think like that. You are nothing. Krishna has it all. Look at all the praise that has been given for the way he speaks. Who can compare to that? So if he gives you a little iota of himself, then what is to brag for myself? I brag on the behalf of Krishna. What you're hearing is his glory, and that's it. Yeah. Any other questions that any of you would like? Mataji here. What she asked. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, Prabhuji.
My name is Purushottam Reddy.
Can you say it a little louder and slower?
My name is Purushottam.
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 Purushottam. Very good.
Yes,
easy name, familiar name.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Actually, this is my second visit to this temple, Swamiji.
Yeah.
I don't know, it is a very coincidence or something, but the trouble or the problem which I'm actually having in my mind about the uncertainty, I think.
A little louder. Speak into the mic.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So the trouble and the problems which I am having in my mind, at least for a while, regarding the uncertainty of the factors that is actually taking place all around the world and the planet. I mean, when I say uncertainty, it is about the things which you just mentioned about the tornadoes or the earthquakes and all that stuff. So I think today from your speechings, we got to know about the attachment and the detachments too. So I think I found some answer where we need to be detached to so many things in this eternal world to be much happier.
Yes.
So I think I'm very happy to have that. But the little question I have here is, so it is very easy for a human being to get attached to so many things. That is Lord Krishna giving to us. But the problem is beginning with the detachment process.
From what?
The detachment process.
Yes.
I mean, the attachment is actually being created by the Lord Krishna, but the detachment has to be implemented by the human being, where it is becoming very, very tough and very, very complicated to get that process done. So I'm just wondering, is there any mechanics to to implement that, or like an example, like where we could actually start with one thing and then
Yes,
we'll see some improvements?
Yeah. I already gave one example, but I thought gave so many examples that it sometimes gets lost in the whole, as I say, in the big stew of so many different things. But I already gave you the one. This is for you, Krishna. This house belongs to you. Are you involved in computer science?
Yes, sir.
Almost everybody is.
Yes,
sir.
sir.
You don't even have to ask. Oh, you're not. Okay. But the great majority, you have Dell here and you have this one, that. So the important point really is that I gave a very interesting example yesterday about computers and the human body and how Krishna, I'm just going to show the greatness of Krishna and the limitations of man. The greatness of Krishna, he makes a body like this. And interestingly enough, you get the flu, or you get a terrible cold, you get a little backache, or shoulder ache, or earache or so, and you take care of them, you give a little medication and so forth, and they go away by themselves. The body actually heals itself quite nicely. Now, it means that the mechanism is already there. It's only a matter of implementing. For example, when certain bacteria is in the body, well, then the body creates antibodies in order to overcome that bacteria. And if your resistance is very good, then it can make those antibodies quite quickly, and in maybe a day or two or three, you're finished and free. If your resistance is very bad, then it may take a little longer, sometimes 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. The point is this, is that Krishna has set in motion in your body the means by which your body can continue living and not die just at the first difficulty or the first attack that it gets from whether it's bacteria or viruses or whatever it has to be. Now, if you take a computer and it crashes on you, it's not going to uncrash itself.
Right.
And did anybody ever see a computer that uncrashes itself?
No.
No, you don't see it. You need an engineer to get in to find out what was the cause of it. What program might be doing, what viruses are in there. You need to check all these different things. It could be thousands of things. You need to do a boot scan and all these different kinds of things that come in. So the point is this, is that Krishna is supreme. If you just think about, number one, your own body, that he can create such a magnificent piece of handiwork, a craftsmanship that is unparalleled and unrivaled anywhere. Keeping that in mind, do you have any right to claim proprietorship over your body? When he's made all these arrangements, he's given you a respiratory system, a circulatory system, he's given you an endocrine system, he's given you the nervous system that works in the brain, an excretory system, all these systems working in a coordinated fashion so that they aid and abet each other in their functioning. So there is nobody who can do that. We build our little machines, in imitation, cheap imitation of Krishna. But those machines don't repair themselves. When your car breaks down, you have to call the AAA or you have to get it towed into the shop. But in case of your body, you just lie down on the bed, wait a few days, and you get up and you're fine, you see. As long as you don't abuse the body while you're trying to get well. So try to keep in mind, when you start with the body belongs to Krishna. All things that have been acquired by the use of my body, such as you have a job, you get a paycheck, the paycheck buys things, those things have come as a result of your body, which is going on by the mercy of Krishna. So your car belongs to Krishna, and you should treat it as his property. That's what a detachment is. And after a while, first it starts out as nothing more than an idea. That's all it can be. You're not going to be able to implement, nobody can, immediately. And suddenly, if somebody bangs your car, if you're truly detached, it won't even matter to you. It's like nothing happened. Banged, unbanged, it's the same thing. Just take it into, you have your insurance against whatever they call it, fire, theft, and some kind of damage or liability, whatever you've got, and you just bring it in, you get it done. Sometimes people, if you bang into somebody's car, they come out swearing, "Why did you do that? Don't you know how to drive? Where are you?" They get into this whole thing. Why? Because of attachment. Attached. They feel like their own body has been wounded. Like a person on a battlefield. He's wounded. He's not even affected. He's screaming and yelling. He's ready to get into a fight, and he's acting like he's affected. So the secret is, excuse me, the secret is never consider anything you have. You take the money out of your pocket. When you see George Washington's face on the dollar, you should see Krishna's face. Yeah. When you see Benjamin Franklin on the $100 bill, you should see Krishna's face. When you see Jefferson or all of these different presidents on the different faces, they're the wrong person. They put the wrong face on. These guys at Washington, they've got to be. They don't know who really is the king of kings. So therefore, yes, you have to see what is really there and not what is dishonestly there. Okay?
Thank
so
you so
that
much.
will make you, your clothes that you're wearing, that's Krishna's clothes. You're borrowing them to him. You never think like that, though. I'm borrowing clothes? I went out and bought it. I worked my butt off, and here I am. I'm borrowing? What do you mean borrowing? Yes, they belong. Where did the wool come from? The sheep. Who made the sheep? Who made the sheep? Or even artificial shoes. Yeah, plastics. Who made the chemicals? Prabhupada always came out with that same. Who made the chemicals? Like the scientists, they're always saying, yeah, but who made those things? Krishna created those 98, mice went to school with 98 elements, but they probably found a few more since I went to school. How many elements are they talking now? 200 elements? Yeah, 98 when...
Some of them they could only make for like a half a second before they disappear,
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, okay. So, yeah, 98 elements, H2O and CO2 and all that kind of stuff. So, but who makes them all? Who creates all of this? But Krishna does that. He's the creator.
Thank you
So
so much.
keep in mind all that, and your whole life will really become better and better, and nothing will bother you. It's proprietorship. It's self-indulgence, self-enjoyment. It's wanting everyone to be your friend and to honor you and glorify you. These are the killers. Self-love is a killer. When I say self, I mean in the pernicious, selfish sense. Mm-hmm. Wanting something and denying Krishna what he really should get. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question? You had a question, Mataji?
I had a comment.
Oh, you have a comment, okay.
Yeah. I was just going to
Let
say
me get
that,
my bulletproof vest on first. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I really liked your point about that I walk for Krishna and I talk for Krishna.
For Krishna.
Yeah. And also, because I was just thinking that in my office I have a boss who uses a lot of profanities, and I was just telling Carvin the other day that she really wants me to also start using her language. She wants me to start using her language, whatever language she uses, swearing and, using four-letter words. And I don't do that. I sit there, laugh, and she gets more angry at that.
Yes, that's correct.
So I was just thinking that, if you go, when you're at work and you're thinking that I'm talking for Krishna, then all the profanities and all that, they automatically are thrown out of the door.
That's
because
correct.
you are Krishna's representative.
Absolutely, yeah. So you don't have to make a deliberate effort to not talk profanities, because if you're doing something for Krishna, and Krishna is your dearest, who's, as I said, feeding you, clothing you, you owe him. You have a debt to him. And the debt must be paid by at least doing what he would like you to do. Exactly. Like a father and a daughter, your father says, do this, do that, do this, and he's been so loving and kind and warm and considerate for you. Well, you want to please him, is it not? So therefore, you're not going to use that kind of language.
That's true, yeah. And the second thing which I also liked was that you said that before you're going to talk, just spend 15 minutes and ask Krishna to give you the right words to use, and they will automatically come. And that's so very important, because we kind of grow up thinking that I am the doer and I'll do everything on my own, and it's kind of encouraged also not to rely on others, and that you should be a self-made, so that I have to do a lot of unwinding to relax and let go and let Krishna take control. And whenever I have done that, he has always come with fantastic solutions to those
I'm so happy
situations.
to hear that. Go ahead, continue. I'm just punctuating like that. Go
Thank you. And one more thing that came to my mind was that I live here in the Bay Area, expensive place, and so I'm in a situation where most of us are, that you buy a place to live, and now you have to work for paying the installments. You have to mortgage installments. And just the other day, I was sitting in my home, and I saw there was an insect, there was a silverfish, roaming here and there nicely in my room. And I was just thinking, look at them. They also. I live in Foster City, which is supposed to be a nice, beautiful place. Okay. And I said, I'm working so hard to live in that place. And look at these insects. They are living in the same place as I am doing. And they don't have any mortgages to worry about and nothing like that. And Krishna is taking care of them, Yeah. So again, it goes back to, like, I want to do it. I'm the doer. I will do everything. And,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Just to have that prestige, of being in such a place that will put himself through such hardship and difficulties, tribulations, when maybe a less fashionable place might be more suitable and less hard work and more time for Krishna, more time for Shastra, more time for coming to classes and to associate with devotees. That's the growth of values. When spiritual values begin to grow, you begin to see things the way you're seeing them and describing them now. And you will see, many persons I've known, they had big homes and so forth, and what they ended up doing, they said, forget it, I'll get a smaller place, and I'll have more time, and I can then begin to become more Krishna conscious. And that makes sense, because now their life is really moving up and they have real happiness, real strength, real true enjoyment, and they're not worried, whether suppose I lose my job and I can't make the mortgage payment, like what happened in the real estate crash of a few years ago. A lot of people really, especially in Las Vegas and in Florida, and even in California, we had a lot of problems. Homes were built and then nobody could even occupy them. And people who occupied them, they couldn't pay the payments, they just moved out into apartments.
Exactly, yeah. And one of the things how I got into this was, I have always lived, and my parents always lived in rented apartments.
The mic is a little close too close.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's
reflecting?
Yeah, that's better, right there. Not so close, because the air goes into it and it covers the perfect pronunciation of your sound. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was saying that that I got into this position, although I'm coming from a family that never owned houses. We always lived in, rented places. When I came here, it was like, well, you'll have to pay so much of taxes, but if you buy a house, then you are paying the mortgage, and then you get some income tax rebate.
Deduction, yeah.
But nobody tells you that, you could also donate money to the temple and you'll get income tax rebate that way as well.
Of course.
And not get into this mess, yeah. And one last thing I'd like to say is that I heard the Srimad Bhagavatam rendition by you, and I didn't realize that. We purchased it when we came to the Rath Yatra a few years ago. And so we took it from you.
Oh,
and
really?
Yeah.
So nice. Thank you.
So I just put it inside the car. I was driving, I put it in the car, and I started listening. And at first I thought there were many people speaking. So I just wanted to let everybody who's there in the room say that I really, really relish, you go from one intonation to another, and it's very difficult to know that it's one person.
She's talking about the voice characterizations that...
it's very, very, it's awesome. And that's, that makes it even more, it puts more emphasis on what you said, that, you talk for Krishna, and then Krishna gives you all those capabilities to do that.
The secret behind that little bit that you just mentioned, if you want to call it a secret, is an open secret pretty much, is that, I grew up as an only child. I didn't have any brothers, I didn't have any sisters, so I had to have somebody to talk to. So I talked to myself, and I took different parts. I would take one part, I would take a young little boy talking like this, and I would talk like an old man, and I'd have these little conversations with myself. I just did it for fun, because what do you do with your time when you don't have a brother to fight with? You have a brother, you can fight with him, play with him, or you have a sister, you pull the pigtails, or something like that, or you push her, she pushes you. And like when I used to go to Portland. I would stay with a family, and there was brother and a sister, and because I never had brother and sister, so they would put on their fight show for me, and they would fight and roll around, and she would pin him, and then he would pin her, and I was just relishing the whole thing. I said, you're going to remember this, and maybe you don't understand now, but in about 15 or 20 years, you'll remember these little fights that you had, fights of love, that you can't have those kind of things. The only fights you have is if you're married, and the kind you don't want. So you'll have this wonderful remembrance, and I always have the remembrance, and I still go to their home. In fact, I'm scheduled to go. They live in San Antonio now, and I go there. And she was 10 years old, and the brother was 7. And I just relished and appreciated. They would put on their little shows for me. So when you have brother or sister, you can do those things, and you actually they're quite enjoyable. But when you're alone, who do you fight with? Who do you play with? I was talking about disguises. So that's the secret behind that. The only child who needed somebody to talk to.
Yeah, but that came to our benefit now. We are relishing the relation. Yeah. So Maharaj, there's also a very nice devotee, Bhakta Sudeep Sabnis. He's based in Los Angeles.
Who is his name?
His name is Sudeep Sabnis. Sudeep.
You're a little too close.
Okay, Sudeep. Sudeep.
Sudeep?
Sudeep. S. Sudeep.
Sudeep. Maybe I know him.
I don't know. But he has sent a text message, and if I have your permission, can I read that?
Text message?
Yeah.
To you?
Just texted.
To yourself?
For you.
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
Well, if it's not too embarrassing, you can go ahead.
Should I?
Anyway, my apologies, Sudeep. I probably know you by sight, but I tend to
tell
forget
us, yeah.
names. Yes,
Okay.
go ahead, please.
Hey Sudeep, text me if you know Maharaj. So he's saying, please thank His Grace Amala Bhakta Prabhu for the wonderful class. I could not attend it in person, being in Los Angeles, but have been listening to the class and feel that this feels just like his audio lecture. And I look forward to seeing Prabhuji in Los Angeles soon.
Thank you so much for your kind words, and I look forward to seeing you and sharing whatever Srila Prabhupada is. That's it? Or is there more? No?
There's one more. There's one more devotee. She's asking a question.
Okay, I'll take the question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So this is Gandharvika Mataji, and she says that her question.
What is her name again?
Gandharvika.
Gandharvika.
Yeah.
Okay.
And her question is, sometimes, though we realize that Lord Krishna does everything, there is satisfaction and motivation only when others acknowledge and glorify our service. Therefore, it feels that it will take many lifetimes to do your service for Lord's pleasure. So asking for your comments on that.
You want to comment on that? Well, first of all, when somebody compliments you, or praises you, or honors you, or applauds you, it doesn't mean that you should just walk away from them discourteously. First of all, anyone who gives you praise or honor or glorification or celebration or any of these things, this is an expression of love. Okay, it is Krishna's love coming through that particular devotee. Just as, if I were falsely humble, when Sudeep, is that his name? He was to say, no, I'm really not any of those things. It was really a bad. Why should I do like that? This is his love. You recognize, you acknowledge it, and you say, thank you very much. I really appreciate what you have said, because I'm very happy that I was able to offer a service which enabled you to feel closer to Krishna. And that's my only goal. So, therefore, I don't just take it and swallow it and enjoy it, which would be pure poison. From his side, it's pure nectar. From my side, it's pure poison. Because I then begin to believe that I'm important, I'm so great, I'm so valuable, I'm so capable, and all of these things, which I should never feel. It's coming from Krishna. So, that's the first thing. What's coming to me is coming from Krishna's love through that devotee. And how do I deal with it? The way I deal with it is my dear Lord, my dear Srila Prabhupada. This praise, they gave it to me because they don't see any other body here. They don't see Krishna speaking through me. They're not seeing Prabhupada speaking through me, even though I feel their presence. So the main point is that it is being addressed to me, but it really doesn't belong to me. If I keep it, I'm being a thief. And if I'm a thief, what happens to a thief? He gets punished. So the only thing I can do is just accept it graciously and pass it on. If I don't pass it on, the poison will inflame and cause infection in my mentality. It will increase the covering around my soul, such as my arrogance, my false prestige, my what did they call that? My arrogance. All of those terrible types of feelings that make a human being disgusting and reprehensible. Okay? So, therefore, my answer there is that you must keep trying. You should never give up. And anyone who just gives the excuse, it will take me 2 lives, what if it takes you 100 lives? But at least you're trying and trying, eventually you'll get it. When Mukunda was rejected by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because he was, if you will, flirting with some mystics who were involved in mystic power, and he was inquiring about these things. So this was the night of the Mahaprakash, and Lord Chaitanya as Krishna was giving out blessings to everyone, but Mukunda was waiting outside, and so the devotees, they said, what about Mukunda? You've been giving all of us blessings, but you haven't given anything to Mukunda. He says, Mukunda? Mukunda? Mukunda will not see me for, I think, 10 million lives. So the devotees, they're almost shocked. The tears start coming from their eyes. But Mukunda, he was just outside. He heard it. He says, 10 million lives, wonderful. At least I will see the Lord in 10 million lives. Suppose he would say, he will never see me. Then that would really be a tragedy. But what is 10 million lives? Of course, when you live in Krishna consciousness, 10 million lives can be a zillion years. It's all the same. This 1 year seemed like 1 minute to me anyway, and many people tell me the same from their lives. So it doesn't matter the time. In spiritual life, you just try the best you can, you persevere, you be patient, and you thank Krishna for what he has given you. I'm wondering back there, did they put the USBs out there? Yes. Well, you put them out. Thank you, Prabhuji. I was just wondering, there's so little, I didn't know they would put it out. So that's about it, and I've answered, I hope I answered the text message, and so just be patient. It's not pleasurable to be patient. It pains you sometimes, but you will develop that virtue. There are certain virtues that a devotee must develop. I'll try to remember them at this moment. One of them is, where do I start? I had them all memorized, but my mind is in. So one is humility, love, obedience, I think it was, humility, love, and charity, and something else, and then there is, no, I'm on the wrong line. See, I memorized these as 3 lines, and I'm on the second line, and I have to go back up to the first line. Yes. Okay, faith is one of them. Very important. Hope is another. A third is love. You have to learn to love. Unselfishly or selflessly. Learn to love. And last, to be charitable. To give, and never feel you've given anything. Not, I gave this, I did that, I'm important, I'm valuable. They read out my name, or they put it on a plaque. The devotee of Krishna is not so much concerned about those things, what people are thinking. It's what Krishna thinks. And he knows. You don't have to, he doesn't have to come, Krishna, and see the name on the plaque. He already knows in the heart. So then the second line, as I remembered it, was humility, patience, and obedience. Obedience to the scriptures, to the laws and order of God. And lastly, courage, courage, discrimination, and detachment. Those 10 qualities are absolutely essential. But if you develop genuine and true, real humility, you'll develop all the others automatically, because they come with humility. It is the cornerstone of all virtues. So we'll conclude this now. I have all my things out on the table. If any of you would like to obtain them or whatever you would like, please let me know. Thank you. You've all been very wonderful devotees and have been very, very receptive to this talk. And it gives me great pleasure to share all this with you. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Thank you.
Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Can give to all. Can give to all those who doesn't know books. Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. Vando moi savadhana mate. Vando moi savadhana mate. Vando moi savadhana mate. Jahara prasade bhai e bhavatori ajay. Would you like to sing? Jahara prasade bhai e bhavatori ajay. Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoy te.
कृष्ण कृष्ण प्राप्ति होय जहाँ होय ते कृष्ण प्राप्ति होय जहाँ होय ते गुरुमुख पद्म वाक्य चिते ते कोरिया क्या गुरुमुख पद्म और ना करी हो मने आशा और ना करी हो मने आशा और ना श्री गुरु चरणे रति ऐसे उत्तम गति श्री गुरु चरण ये प्रसादे पूरे सर्व आशा ये प्रसादे पूरे सर्व आशा ये प्रसादे पूरे सर्व आशा चक्षुदान दिलो जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से चक्षुदान दिलो जय जन्मे जन्मे दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाशायते प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाशायते वेद गाए जहाँ रचरितो वेद गाए जहाँ रचरितो श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आधम जनार बंधु श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आधम जनार बंधु लोकनाथ लोकेरा जीवाना लोकेना प्रभुपाद पतित पावना हाँ हाँ प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पद छाया हाँ हाँ प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पद हाँ हाँ प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पद छाया हाँ हाँ प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पद छाया दया हाँ हाँ प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पद छाया हाँ हाँ प्रभु करो हाँ हाँ प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पद छाया मुख एबे अस घुषु त्रिभुवना एबे अस घुषु त्रिभुवना एबे श्रीला प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा श्री प्रभुपादा प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभु प्रभुपाद Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Pada Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namah. Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale, Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hariharaya Namah, Krishna Yadavaya Namah, Hariharaya Namah, Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah, Hariharaya Namah, Krishna Yadavaya Namah, Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudana, Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudana, Hari Gopinath Madana Mohana, Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohana. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan Radhe Jaya Radha Radha Madan Mohan Jaya Mahaprabhu Jaya Mahaprabhu Jaya Mahaprabhu Jaya Mahaprabhu Jaya Mahaprabhu Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhu Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Nitai Gaur Premanande
Namo Vishnupada Paramamsa Parivracakacharya Stotra Shri Srimad Vaicharanaravindra Bhakti Vedanta Swami Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrindi ki Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj Thakur ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Mayapur Navdeep Dham ki jai. Vrindadev ki jai. Lord Damodar ki jai. Radha Madan Mohan ki jai. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Lakshmi Narsingha Devi ki jai. Kartik Maas ki jai. Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai. Samaveda Gaur Bhakti Vrindi ki jai. Nitai Gaur Gaur Premanande. All glories to assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga Hari Bol. Namaste Narasimhaya Namaste Narasimhaya Praladala Dayini Praladala Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha Shilatankana Kalaye Shilatankana Kalaye To Nashima Parato Nashima Ito Nashima Parato Nashima Ito Nashima Parato Nashima Yato yato yamitato nashima Yato 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 yamitato nashima Bhagi nashima hridaye nashima Bhagi nashima hridaye nashima वही नरसिम्हा हृदये नरसिम्हा वही नरसिम्हा हृदये नरसिम्हा नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपद्ये नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपद्ये तव करकमलवरे नाका अद्भुतशृङ्गा ललिताहिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गा केशवदीता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी जय जगदीश हरे कर कमलवरे नाका अद्भुत शृंगा दलिताहिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गा केशवदीता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे तव कर कमलवरे नाका अद्भुत शृङ्गा ललिताहिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गा केशवदीता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी जय जगदीश हरे कर कमलवरे नाका सिंगा ललिताहिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गा केशवदीता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय 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 लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय नाराहरि जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय नाराहरि जय भक्तात प्रहलाद 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 जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव। लक्ष्मी नरसिंहदेव भगवान की, प्रहलाद महाराज की, श्री विराट बोल प्रभुपाद की, गुरु परंपरा की, हिताय गौर गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरि हरि बोल।
Hare Krishna. So we'd like to thank you to our dearmost Prabhuji staying nearby in Los Angeles, Amala Bhakta Prabhu. Please give a big hand. So he has come here to spend his weekend in our temple, and tomorrow also he is giving a talk at 4:30 p.m. in the evening and Sunday lecture class. So if you have missed today, so please don't forget to come. If you like also, you can come tomorrow to hear his transcendental topics on Krishna consciousness. Also, evening home program at Sundaram Prabhuji's Fremont. You can talk to Sundaram Prabhuji if you wanted to go in the evening program. And also, there will be a competition, kids competition. I don't know, it's happening in the other classes or... Oh, okay. They are going to start in 5 minutes, so please get registered yourself. Hare Krishna. If you like to also offer, don't plan to come tonight, you can offer Damodarastakam to Radha, Madan Mohan and Radha Damodar, both of them are there. So there are ghee lamps and the lighter is also there. You can help yourself. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. For the kids who have registered for the creative writing, which is age group 7 to 12 plus years, please go to the Krishna room, the back. The contest is going to start like in 2 minutes. And for those who have registered for the speech contest, please stay back here. We are going to start in like 5 minutes. Okay? Thank you.
No, we'll continue because I think we'll continue. If you want to,
ओके ठीक है तो यही तो घर
Hello, hello.
I think that mic is better. This one, the new one.
No, new one. I don't know.
Where's that new one?
I don't know where it is.
New one is.
Head mic.
No, head mic will be too big. Too bad.
Oh, the Tilak? We can just put it. Let me find it.
We can turn. Hello, hello.
Jyoti, come here. Jyoti. What is your height? Height is. You can speak. You can speak now. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Vishwas, Namma number 2.